All right. Here we go. Back again on the other side of the coin. I am live with my main man, Younes. There's a reason I've brought in Younes. I've been waiting since I've started doing all these sort of collaborations and discussions back into my channel. And I've just been waiting for the right moment to have a conversation with Younes. And I thought after that shambolic performance against Arsenal, I just needed a therapeutic session. And here we are. We've got Younes. Younes, how you doing, my man?
I'm good. Obviously, aside from the football, I'm brilliant. But with the football, it's a little bit 50-50 right now.
It's crazy. I mean, I know we were just talking about this just before we went live, that a lot of our, we try and keep football, away from our lives, but performances like that and continued performances like the way we've been playing does play some sort of part in our lives in terms of controlling our mood and whatnot. So it's good to talk things out and get a perspective and get it out of the system, and hopefully we do that. Let's get straight into it, Younes. I want to use this whole discussion with you and talk about a lot of legitimate conversation. There's, I told you yesterday that I'm not interested about Mason Mount and Callum Hudson-Odoi compilations in the timeline. I'm not interested about propaganda that's happening with Callum Hudson-Odoi now. I'm here to talk about the real talk. Do you know what I mean? Like, no one can change. Not change. No one can sort of, I suppose, change my perspective on the match that we had against Arsenal by providing me with some really nice compilation of second half performance from Callum Hudson-Odoi, which is great. But here we are. First of all, Younes, I want to talk to you about this trust the process concept that's getting thrown around, right? We've been thrown around with this trust the process thing. And till now, I still don't completely understand the concept of it. And someone yesterday, when I brought this up, right, and said to me, I think it was post-match review with a couple of the guys I did yesterday, and they were saying, losing to Arsenal 3-1 should not be part of trust the process. Now, what's your opinion on this whole notion of trust the process where fans seems to sort of dish that around?
I mean, it's not something that's unique to us, really, isn't it? I mean, the fact is, after yesterday's performance, it seems like all of Arsenal's issues have just been shifted over to us, and we've taken it with us home. Like, it's because Arsenal were all talking about trust the process, and they were having this debate. Obviously, the problems at Arsenal are a lot deeper. I wouldn't say we have a problem at the club, or like we don't have that. They've got big issues. But on the back of yesterday, it's not just for those that think yesterday's loss was just unique, for yesterday. That's not the case, and we know that. Correct. That's not the case. We were, yes, it's off the back of a West Ham win. You got to realize, even in that West Ham win, that wasn't a 3-0 performance. It was just a little bit too much quality for West Ham. They really just couldn't cope with. And towards the end of the game, they just couldn't keep up. So it wasn't a 3-0 performance. But when you look at the games before that, we'd lost to Everton in a way we shouldn't have. And then we lost to Wolves, making the exact same mistakes and playing the exact same way. And we kind of took that into West Ham, but as I've said, for the reasons why we beat West Ham, now we've gone into Arsenal in the exact same manner again and committed the same mistakes again. My issue is, look, I trusting the process, you have to, it is a thing where you can't just expect things to just, switch on all of a sudden and great. But when you have to, when you take all the factors into consideration, and the fact that we're not in the same circumstances as last season, we have everything that we need now. Everything's good. We should be making progress. We should be seeing a lot more development as compared to last season. Whereas now that just doesn't look like that's the case. So you got to start asking the question: if we keep making the same mistakes over and over again, and someone like Lampard doesn't see it, there has to be a question asked. If you make a mistake once, twice, you rectify it, or you change things up and you try a different angle, cool. Okay, no problem. If you're doing the same thing over and over again, and everyone can see it, I can see it, you can see it, we can all see it. We all say it in our videos. We all say it in our
We've been laughing about it, Younes. A few days ago in your tweet, I was just saying, Younes, if we're just crossing and spamming and crossing, I mean, we're not going to go anywhere. We were laughing about this.
Yeah. And what's crazy is, funnily enough, Arsenal had the same issue. Arteta was being criticised for just cross the ball into the box and hope. But when you look at yesterday and the way that we allowed them to play, they didn't just cross the ball into the box and hope. They had multiple dynamics going on. They had multiple ways of getting the ball into our danger zones. And with us, we just didn't. So you got to ask the question now, if we can't even do that against a 15th place Arsenal that are broken, and let's be honest, they are broken. Yesterday was only because I say we allowed them. We just gave it to them on a silver plate. We didn't take a game to them. We didn't have a shot on target until minute 85. I mean, it tells you, if we're going to be making the same things, the same mistakes over and over again, do you trust the process, or do you bite the bullet? I don't know.
Yeah, and I want to continue on with this whole topic because I want fans to seriously start thinking about this now. And it's not just vibes, because I get a lot of vibes these days. It's Frank Lampard, he's the manager, he's the player, he's the legend. Yeah. And I feel like it's a lot of vibes, right? And it's not a lot of good chat that's happening. And I want to talk about this whole trust the process thing further with you. And I want to bring into you with the attention of some of the other teams that have sort of changed their manager, or they bought a lot of players similarly to us, maybe not as many players as us, but similarly to us. I want to first talk about a particular situation with Southampton last season. All right. They got beat 9-0 against Leicester. Yeah. Do you remember that? It was a 9-0, 7-0, something like that. 9-0. Since then, I believe his name is Hassan Huddle. I can't pronounce it properly. I think it's Hassan Huddle or something like that. Hassan Huddle. Now, this guy, right, Younes, he's not changed his style, right? He's got this philosophy, Younes, that he says that I rather lose the way I want to play than lose on a way that others want to play, or lose to a plan B, or lose to a plan C. If my boys go out there and follow my instructions and lose, that's on me. That's his philosophy, right? So he gets beat 9-0. He doesn't get sacked. And the meteoric rise since then for Southampton has been immense in my eyes. Like this guy, they've been put away by Spurs, similarly the way they got put away by Leicester, just because they press high, they believe in the high line. So whether they have the ingredients or not is a different story, but they believe in a particular philosophy and they go by it and they live by it, right? Yeah. So that's Southampton. Keep that in mind. Everton, right? They got in Ancelotti literally a year ago now. And look where they're going with their trust the process, right? They're seeing progress. Yes, they've had the blips, but they've fixed it. Ancelotti saw that without James Rodriguez, just like we don't have Ziyech, without James Rodriguez, they got to tweak their game a little bit. They got to maybe sit deep a little bit. They got to play on the counter a little bit. They got to focus on Calvert-Lewin and have players like Richarlison and whoever else that they've got, right?
Yeah.
I need you to now make sense of all of this in terms of the trust the process that I've been saying. Are you seeing these sort of developments from Frank? You've mentioned many times, I'll see your video every time, man. And you've talked about the crossing and spamming. Not having Ziyech is not an excuse anymore. It's not an excuse. We're not a one-man team. Yes, he is 100% the most valuable attacker for us, but we need to have a plan without him, right?
Absolutely. At the end of the day, we spent 200 million on this team. As I said, we're not in the same situation as we were last summer, or last season, where we had no Hazard, transfer ban, youth players to rely on. We're not in that situation anymore, and you expect to see development. Now, one thing to relate with what you've said is Frank Lampard's post-match interview yesterday, because that was, for me, a little bit worrying. That was worrying, because he's just, as much as he said one line where he said, I take responsibility on the outside, but I don't know
when it's in the field. When it's in the field, it's on them.
What does that mean? But he was talking about not having enough energy, not running, jogging, not sprinting. As much as I'd say elements of that is true, but we look so one-dimensional. And when you have players that you've spent this much money on, yeah, and they are, big talents. Don't tell me they don't know how to play another way. They've all come from clubs where they were playing other ways. They are top end professional footballers at the highest level. Yeah, a lot of them young, a lot of them still coming through the ranks, but not through the ranks. But a lot of them still making development. They're not at their peak, but they're getting there. So to tell me that they can only rely on this one way, because we can all see it. But Frank Lampard didn't want to acknowledge that. The fact that everyone can see we are playing one way, and it's clear as day. Pass the ball along the back, or if we're in the midfield and we somehow end up with no option, even though sometimes we do have an option, but we don't decide to take it, we go backwards and then pass along the back to our fullbacks, link up on the flanks, on the wings, bomb forward, cross the ball in, and hope. I mean, it's so predictable. Of course, you're going to lose games because the opposition are going to know this. If we can see it, if you can see it, I can see it, then don't tell me other managers can't see it, or other teams can't see it, or other coaching departments can't see it, or scouts or analysts at other clubs who need to go through all of this data to pass on to the managers. That way they can give them an overview of the team that they're going to be playing against. Don't tell them they can't see that. Of course they can see that. So it's going to be easier for other teams to set up if they know Chelsea don't have anything else to offer. And
just on that, sorry, Younes, just to add that, it's not a coincidence anymore that teams like Everton, who were struggling, teams like Wolves, who were struggling, teams like Arsenal, who are struggling, are coming up and getting us done. I don't think this is a coincidence anymore. These guys have looked at our game and they go, I think they can be beat. Like their style can be beat.
And in a way, it's very easy. I spoke with an Arsenal fan yesterday, and he was telling me as soon as Lampard made those halftime substitutions, especially the Jorginho for Kovacic one, that played right into Arsenal's hands.
Yeah.
Right into Arsenal's hands. Why? Because they're 2-0 up. They know they don't need to go on the offensive anymore. They are 2-0 up. The damage has already been done. They can rely to sit back a little bit, wait for the opportunity to hit on the counter. And when you hit us on the counter and we've got Jorginho defending, well, that's going to cause a lot of holes. Yeah. We played right into their hands. And that's the thing. It's things before the game, in terms of how we are set up to play. And it's things during the game, that in-game management, which we know Lampard lacks. So it's, when you see other teams and the development that they're making, and you expect us, after the money that we've spent and all the talent that we now see in the team, bar Ziyech, because I know he's injured, but we've got everyone else available, And if others are going to say, but Werner isn't firing, Havertz isn't firing, well, I mean, firstly, I would say we need to give an opportunity for Werner to be playing up front as a centre forward. That's one. And
Frank actually put him on the. Absolutely killed him in that press conference, saying that he wasn't good enough on and off the ball and had to make a change. I don't know how that's going to go down on Werner to have his manager. Let's be honest, as you said, Werner hasn't been great, but he has every right to tell Frank, say, Gaffer, you've not played me up front. You've played me in the wings, expecting me to do all the things you want me to do, and then you go out there in the press conference after the match and put me under the bus like that.
And that's the worrying thing, because Lampard went public last night. That's something that, as much as sometimes you want to hear managers say that sort of thing, to be honest, the high road, you really shouldn't. You really shouldn't. As much as it's in today's age, as much as it's something that I think fans would want to hear, that honesty. You can't be honest like that. Not publicly. Privately, you can grill them. Do what you want privately. In the dressing room, just do whatever you want. No problem at all. But not public, because that's only going to add pressure. It's only going to cause headlines. It's only going to cause tabloids to start writing things that you don't want them to write, and you've just fed them the opportunity. And Lampard yesterday went full blame on the players. When at least if that was the case, then cool. Yeah. If we can all acknowledge and go, no, you know what? Lampard done everything that he possibly could there. There was no blame on him whatsoever. Fair enough. Yeah. But you look at someone, other managers in the past that have done the same thing, and it's cost them their jobs. Lampard yesterday just come out and grilled the players completely. What's that going to do to the players? How's that going to sit well? And we've got to play tomorrow.
And especially to a player like Werner, who's struggling already with the fan base now starting to get on him with missing chances. How's that going to go with him, right?
Absolutely. Someone made a very good point yesterday, and I know Werner has played as you could say as a winger, even for Leipzig. It wasn't many occasions. It was not many occasions. Most of his career has been as a centre forward. So I don't really get the angle of he can play as a full-on winger. No. He's done it before.
Correct.
That's it. He's done it before. Yeah. So he's not new to it, but that's not his position.
Absolutely.
Someone made a good point and said, imagine when we first got Drogba to the club and we stuck him left wing. What would have happened? You know what I mean? And it's true. It's a good point. The thing with Werner as well, and what I don't understand, we were sticking him on that left-hand side, and we just knew Pulisic needed to be on that left-hand side. Especially against Bellerin. But we kept seeing that interchange and that swapping, but the majority of the time was Werner on the left, and he got taken off at half-time. And what did Lamps do? Then put Pulisic on the left to put Hudson on the right.
Yeah, why not start like that?
I mean, and that's the thing. If you're making mistakes like that, and then you come after the game and say, "No, it was the player's responsibility. It's all on them," you look like a bit of an idiot.
100%. And I want to continue with this theme, right? This whole talk about how he's sort of passed on the blame. Predominantly, he's taken some blame. He said that I take some responsibility, but predominantly it was on the players.
Yeah.
Now, you've talked about the Pulisic. I saw that in your video. You talked about the Pulisic and the Werner thing, and that's one thing. I want to now shed another light with you on that match, right? I know we're focusing a lot on Arsenal, but these are some of the concepts that we've seen in other matches, as you said. This isn't just purely based on the Arsenal match. We've seen these traits in other matches recently that we've lost. Now, I don't know how much you've noticed this, but I saw this clearly yesterday, plenty of times. Arsenal, especially Arteta, who's a manager who's been losing. We were their first victory in 2 months, right? Let's let that sink in for a little bit in Premier League. He saw our midfield of Kante, Mason Mount, and Kovacic, and he summed it up. He summed it up pretty well that's too dynamic for me to go head on with them. That's just too much for Xhaka and El Nani to take care.
They wouldn't cope, yeah.
They won't cope, right? So what did he do? He saw Chilwell and Reece James not fit. He saw them not fit. He might have even known prior to the match. I know these coaches, they know what the starting lineups are. Don't tell me anyone doesn't know and it's all a surprise. I'm pretty sure Arteta would have known who's starting for Chelsea, right back, left back. So he might have known that, right? I saw so many times their attack going towards Chilwell and their attack going to Reece James, bypassing our midfield. They did not want to get into a midfield battle with our three players who are energetic, who are strong, and really can outrun their players. They simply went wide and then looked for the balls cutting in because they knew if they can somewhat sort of isolate Kante away and then overcrowd our fullbacks areas who were not fit in that match, they can cause some damage. How much of that, surely Frank, after the first, you know it, Younes, within the first 2 minutes, you could see Chilwell's not running the way he normally runs. You could see Reece James not moving around the way he normally moves around. Surely Frank sees that within the first 5 to 10 minutes and he starts thinking about some sort of a tactical change, no? Or does he just let it plan out and then Reece gets that penalty done on him, which clearly throughout this season he's actually been good, but he got done there because I feel like he just couldn't cope. He couldn't cope with the pace of the other player. Chilwell as well looked a bit shaky. What's your thoughts about the tactical know-how of Frank Lampard? I feel like he doesn't do enough in the games when he sees things going wrong.
Yeah, I fully agree. Obviously, with us prior to the game, we saw the lineups. We saw Chilwell and Reece James starting, and we thought, "Oh my goodness, this is fantastic." They fit. That's great because we had, no hope that they would be making the game. We both thought we all thought that they would be out. As you said though, during the game, I think we saw a little bit more. Especially going forward, I'm talking going forward. Defensively, I think both Chilwell and Reece James were lacking, and that was clear, especially Reece James. Going forward, I think Chilwell probably offered a little bit more. But again, this is what happens when you rely on that one way, and they are vital to that one way. And if they're not fit, well, you're just gonna stick with it and hope, or you're gonna try and change the focus or try and change, the direction of play or the way that we're playing. And he just didn't change it, and that's the problem. If you know that they are both unfit, or you can see during the game that they are unfit or they're struggling, well, make a change, make the change, or at least change the way that we're playing. Stop focusing on the flanks, or try and get onto the flanks to our forward men rather than utilizing our fullbacks. As I said, there were opportunities to go down that middle. There were and we saw it for 10 minutes during that game. We done it, and I was going, yes, this is great, finally, okay. And then we just abandoned it. But with Reece James yesterday, especially, and the way that he conceded that penalty, you cannot let someone cut you inside like that. That's the only way that Tierney is going to get past you. You're on the byline. The only way he's going to get past you is if he cuts in and goes around you. That's the only possible way. Just stand your ground. He didn't.
Do you think though, Younes, the Reece James 2 weeks ago lets that situation happen with the hot form that he's been in this season? This is what I'm trying to get to. That wouldn't Azpilicueta in that situation allow that? Because for me, Reece James didn't play, I think, the last game or last week or so. He had that injury with the knee situation, which was meant to have a surgery, then didn't have a surgery. Now all of a sudden he's back into the team when he didn't even play in the last game. I personally feel the Reece James we've been seeing this season, I'm not talking about last season. Last season, I don't think he was good defensively. You know it as well. You've said it plenty of time in your video. But this season, I need to put my hand on my heart and say this guy has actually developed defensively. I've seen many times this season he's taken care of the wingers.
Yeah,
that was very uncharacteristic of me to see him get done by Tierney. With all due respect, Tierney's a good player, but he's no Reece James. This season should be taking care of that. I feel like I don't think he was fit. I do not think he was fit.
No. And that makes you worry a little bit, That makes you worry. Why was that decision made? As I said, all of us on the outside, we saw the lineups and we were buzzing. We were like, okay, great, they're fit. If they're being selected, especially this season where we've had injuries and players have been fit and Lampard's still been reluctant to pick them because he doesn't want to take that risk. We always seem to give the extra mile for players to recover. So when we saw Reece James and Chilwell yesterday, we just immediately assumed, they're fit. Surely Lampard wouldn't pick them if they're unfit. He didn't pick anyone else when they were unfit. Surely they're fit.
Exactly. Yeah.
Clearly they weren't, and that's something that clearly they must have known, especially with the diagnosis of Reece James's injury. Chilwell not so much. Chilwell we know trained. And it probably wasn't as bad as a lot of people think. But with Reece James, a knee injury, feeling discomfort, possible surgery, which might still happen. It's a last resort, apparently. It hasn't been ruled out. It's a possibility that he might need surgery. Why play? And what does that do for Azpilicueta now as well? He's the captain. Technically, he's the club captain.
Honestly, I've been thinking about that, Younes, and that's like, for me, I don't know, man. Obviously, Frank will tell us that Reece James was fit, but we fans can see that we've seen the difference, the level, the drop in level from what he was doing to what he did yesterday against Arsenal. I feel like that's a bit of a disrespect for Azpilicueta. Like, being in the bench, I feel like he could say to the gaffer, I'm fit, man. Like, I'm ready to go. I'm the club captain. And it's not like I'm a bad right back. Like, I'm very astute in defense. I may not be that great going forward, which is probably a blessing that we don't have to do crossing and spamming with Azpilicueta, and we're forced to go through the middle. Him as a captain would feel so down as well. Now, look, I want to start talking about a little bit more about this whole tactical know-how. I'll talk to you about the substitutions and his in-game management a little bit, because basically what I'm leading up to with all of these little scenarios is the final question of, is Frank Lampard going to win us a trophy? So I'm trying to build a story here, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about his substitutions. Younes, I know you've been very critical about his subs, and it's time we start talking about some of this stuff in a bit more in-depth analysis. Some of his stuff, subs in recent times, let's take yesterday's game, right? Kovacic, once again in your video, you've said it very astutely. He's probably the only guy that was driving through the middle. Yeah. He managed to get Mari a yellow card very early in the game. I even tweeted out after that Pulisic now really has a game on his hand because he can force a red card here. He can force a red card by going direct. You know very well, Younes, Jose Mourinho at halftime would be behind Pulisic's ears to say, 100%. You know what you got to do. You know what you got to do, my man. Yeah. You got the skills. You got Mari who's on a yellow card. You know what to do. You get that red card because you're going to draw a foul. You will draw a foul. He will tell that to Kovacic as well. You draw a foul. You draw a foul, right? Not even halftime. He would send a message somehow in the game when there's a throw-in to tell someone to pass that message on to Kovacic 100%. And Pulisic to push on Mari.
He done it for Spurs. We saw in the Amazon documentary. We saw it, and he's done it before. He's done it with us. He 100%. You know, and for him, especially in that Amazon documentary, it was the reverse. He was telling his players that I forgot who it was that was on a yellow card.
Man City.
Man City. It was against Man City, and he was saying they are watching you. They are going to try and get you sent off now. You know, don't tell me they don't know what we're thinking or we don't know what they're thinking. You know, but you can't be naive. You can't be amateurish in your head. You got to know that they are thinking that now. So you got to be careful. You know, I'm not sure that's the case with Lamps. I was doing the watch along yesterday, and the moment Pablo Mari got a yellow card, I said, I was like, this is a great opportunity to try and get them to 10 men.
Yeah.
Great opportunity to try and get them to 10 men and to just, destroy them mentally because they are in a very fragile place mentally.
100%.
If you crush something, and the amount of red cards they've had this season, if you can just add one more to that, they'll crumble. We didn't even give focus on Pablo Mari after he got booked so early.
And this is the thing, Younes, right? This is the thing about Frank Lampard where we need to be true. I feel like, and you've said it many times, that he just stands there during the match and just watches. And when things fall apart, he's just like this, watching and watching. I don't know. I don't see many times in the camera where he's trying to pass a message or he's trying to tactically change a few things. I honestly don't see that enough. That incident alone, and there have been many incidents like that this season so far where we could have gone in the ascendancy, but we did not take the opportunity. Instead, what do we do again? The message, go wide, go to Reece James, go wide, go to Chilwell, try and bomb it in. No, the message should have been clear. Pass it to Pulisic, pass it to Kovacic, take them on and focus on Mari. Take them on, focus on Mari, try and draw a foul. Try and draw a foul. Be dirty if you have to be. Be dirty, be naughty, be whatever you have to be. Get a red card, get him out. Make the game on our terms, right? And I feel like these are the little nuances that Frank, I don't know the details. I'm not sure if he's aware of the details all the time, Younes, man. And explain to me this, because I know you're a very detailed guy about these sort of things. You pick up on the little things, right? Talk to me about these things because this is important for our fan base to realize.
I mean, what baffles me, right? If I can see it, you can see it. The average Joe watching the game on the outside can see it.
But we're not experts.
And we're not experts. Let's be real. We're not qualified ex-players or pundits or whatnot. We just give our opinion. We see what we see and we say it. If we can see it, don't tell me Lampard can't see it. Because if he can, he shouldn't be a football manager. It's as simple as that. Like, total. I'm not talking Chelsea. He shouldn't be in football. Like, you've played, you've had a good career, mate. All right, see you later. Done. Yeah. Like, you can't see that. So surely, surely he sees it. And what baffles me with Lamps, the one thing, right, based on his past, with the way that we're playing now, the guy was a midfielder. The guy was one of the best central midfielders going. So why are we not playing in a way that shows that our central midfielders
is quality?
It's quality and can build a play from central midfield. If Lampard done it, for goodness sakes, as a player, he done it. It's not like he's new to it. He was it. So why are we not seeing it in this Chelsea team? Why are we not seeing something being replicated?
Lampard was all about the threaded passes. He was all about the vision. He was all about the that view of Barcelona. That view of Barcelona goal. How he puts that ball for Ramirez.
Yeah.
And this is the manager who's now playing, spamming and crossing and hoping.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. For that, I can't answer. I'm baffled. I'm truly baffled. And as I said, if it's something that you want to do, cool. But when you see it's not working, game after game after game, or we've been figured out and it's too predictable, it's too one-dimensional, and it's clear that no matter what the situation of the game is, we just keep doing the same thing. If that's the case, you're not willing to change that, there's an issue.
100%, man. 100%. Let's slowly move on to winning big games consistently. All right.
Yeah.
We've talked about the truster process. We've talked about in-game management. We've talked about putting players under the bus, not taking blame, so on. So let's move forward and let's talk about winning big games consistently. Because if you're a manager of Chelsea Football Club, Frank will know it himself. There's high standards. We win the big games consistently. If you don't win the big games consistently, well, then we're not here to make up the numbers, right? We're not here to make up the numbers. So, I look back at some of our games, even last season. I don't want to dwell too much on last season. I need to bring some of these games up, right? Just before the season ended, there was a match against Liverpool where we had the opportunity to absolutely tie up the top four. Going into that match, I think a few of our rivals drew or they lost points, and a draw or a win against, I think, Liverpool could have cemented the top four position or made us even third. And we didn't need to wait for the Wolves game, the last game, to have a do or die sort of situation, win this and we go through, right?
Yeah.
And we didn't do it. When it came to the crunch against a big team like Liverpool, we didn't do it. Yeah, surely enough, when it came against Wolves, we beat them. This season, again, a few matches where Everton, they were down in spirit, they were down in form. It was an opportunity to go up the table. I think we could have secured or cemented a position 2 or whatever. Yeah. We didn't do it. Once again, we buckled against a team like Everton, who has now gone on a bit of a run since then. Similarly with Wolves. Wolves didn't win 2 games, did not score anything prior to winning against us. And then since then, they've not won again. So, And now the Arsenal game, right? I don't care where Arsenal is in the table, every day of the week, Arsenal versus Chelsea, Chelsea versus Arsenal is a big match.
Yep,
it's a big London derby match. And we've not beaten them in the FA Cup. We've now not beaten them here again. Arteta, with all the problems that he seems to have, there seems to be no problem when it comes to us, right? What I want to ask you is, and people will bring this up a lot of times, Younes, and they'll say, but we've beaten Spurs. We've beaten Man City. I'm not talking about the one-off game here. I'm not talking about beating Spurs just one time or beating City one time. Beating top clubs consistently, right? Do you see Frank doing that, man?
I mean, this season specifically, it's not looking good. Last season, as I said, we could take the circumstances into context, and we understood we were limited. We had to rely on youth players. We done all of that, and to be fair, we pulled off some good results. We done the double over Arsenal. We did the double over Arsenal last season.
No, we didn't do double. There was a draw. The win, Arsenal win.
yeah. Actually, you're right. Yeah, no, we done the double over Tottenham. And there were some good results. But this season, the fact is, and this is a bit scary, especially for Chelsea. We haven't beaten a team in the top 10. If I'm not mistaken, except for West Ham.
West Ham's going on.
West Ham now. Yeah. We haven't done it. We haven't done it, and that's a concern. We've got Aston Villa tomorrow. They're in the top 10. I mean, they're above us.
They're better than West Ham. They're better than West Ham.
A lot better. And then after that, we've got Man City.
Yeah.
Not too long, we've got to play Wolves again. We've got Fulham and then Wolves.
Yeah.
I mean, it's in terms of the big games, it's not good. It's not looking good at all. And my issue, especially with yesterday against Arsenal, is they were there for the taking. They were there for the taking. It's not like they're not playing well at all. Why is it that other teams, you have all sorts of other teams? I mean, even Burnley. Just Burnley. We just need to talk about Burnley, let alone Wolves and everyone else that got a job done against Arsenal. But Burnley went to the Emirates and beat them. All these teams managed to go and do it, but we can't with what we have. I mean, that tells me, it's not. You can't just put that on on players and ability, because we have talent in this team. We have big talent in this team.
Massive talent. Massive talent. Yeah.
But the trajectory we're going in at the moment, especially in these big games, it's starting to seem like any big game we play, something's going to go wrong. And that's where the worry begins to seep in. And, players are not immune to that. They're going to feel it. And if there's if confidence begins to dip, then I mean, I don't want to say what's going to happen tomorrow or against Man City, but those two games now are crucial for the players and their confidence, and for Lampard as a manager.
And what do you think the opposition's thinking, Younes? What do you think the opposition's thinking looking at us?
Hey, look, let me tell you now, Dean Smith alongside JT. That's funny. It's going to be alongside JT. They're looking at that and going, okay, we know exactly how to play against these lot.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. Especially Villa, who are on form. I mean, yesterday they played fantastic. And
El Ghazi is playing some of the best football I've seen, man. I forget Grealish. Grealish is here. Like, there's no need to talk about Grealish, but El Ghazi.
We haven't set ourselves up really good for this one either, because remember the whole Reece James and Chilwell thing. Clearly, they're unfit. Clearly, had Lampard gone with Azpilicueta and Emerson yesterday, we all would have understood it. We all would have gone, this is expected. I put it in my preview. I put Azpi and Emerson to start because I thought there's no chance Chilwell and James are going to play this one. But now they've been forced through. There's no way Chilwell and James are playing tomorrow. There's just no. I'll be baffled if they're playing. But that forces our hand, because now tomorrow we have to play Azpilicueta and Emerson. Dean Smith is going to know that. Dean Smith is going to know exactly how we're going to set up tomorrow based on our performance yesterday and the players that played yesterday, and who's looking unfit, who's looking tired and whatnot. The way that we're playing, I think Aston Villa are going to have it all figured out for us. But it's up to us whether we show enough quality to take the game to them. And right now, it's a worry. It's a worry.
A crazy part is as well, Younes, Aston Villa won 3-0 against Crystal Palace with a man down. With 10 men, yeah. And if you look at some of the goals that they scored, it's proper goals. It's not cross and let's hope that it goes in. It's proper job done. Now, let's move on to the final part before we get into the ultimate question. Now, Frank talks about giving chances on the basis of merit. Yeah, he talks about, I want to give players, I pick my teams based on how they train, and they train well, they get into the team, and I pick my team based on merit. All right. Timo Werner, let's talk a little bit about Timo Werner. He hasn't been the greatest in the greatest form, and we've said that he's partly a lot to do with him playing in the wing. He should be playing more centrally. Yeah. Players like Kovacic getting dropped, substituted off, and Jorginho coming in, and a few other players as well. Like, how much of this do you think it's really true now? I feel like there's a certain case of, if Werner's not playing well, why not drop him and just try something different, man? Just try a different formation. Try, if Callum Hudson-Odoi is fit enough to play 45 minutes and he looked pretty sharp, why not play with Callum Hudson-Odoi, Pulisic, and Tammy up front? And if you're going to spam crosses, why not play with Giroud instead of Tammy? Tammy's not great aerially. So I don't understand this whole concept of merit. I don't understand this whole concept of players in, their training. Like, make sense of this, man. Make sense of this.
I get it to an extent. You want to pick players that are serious, but that doesn't mean you got to neglect who you're playing against. And, what opposition you're coming up against. Because let's be honest, players train. And at this level, with them playing at Chelsea Football Club, I mean, don't tell me that at least the majority of the squad, not even just the starting 11 or the subs, the squad are not training seriously. Surely. Come on. I mean, if not, they're just picking up a paycheck and not doing their jobs, which I don't want to believe that is true. I mean, surely not. There's a news, though, however, Younes, I don't know if you've seen this. Simon Phillips just tweeted out, Tomori apparently has dropped his training levels. I don't know how much of this is true. He's apparently dropped his training levels, hence why he's not getting picked, hence why he's looking for a permanent move outside of Chelsea. It goes to the point that you're saying,
I don't understand in Chelsea Football Club how you drop your training levels.
Yeah, I don't get it. And in Tomori's case, I mean, it's probably there is frustration there because he's just not getting a sniffing at all, and that's built up a lot over a long period of time. There were opportunities to play him, but we went with Rudiger and Christensen instead. So I don't know. Behind the scenes are behind the scenes in regards to him personally, but in terms of the squad and everyone that's there, at a very high level, that there is an element of you have to train well, you have to deserve to be picked, absolutely, but that doesn't mean that you got to squash all of that based on that one point. You got to squash form, what you might contribute in a game regarding the opposition you're coming up against. What individual battles are there going to be between certain men? There's so you have to base your team, at least a portion of it, on who you're coming up against. Correct. If not, there's just no point of preparation. You might as well just base it all on training and just go on, lads. I'll just pick the same 11 every week because but that's just not the way it works. You have to. This is the Premier League. This is probably the most complex league in the world. You just never know what's going to happen day in after day. It's just it is what it is. With Lamps, I feel like that it could be a little bit too reliant on that. On it's a very old school way of thinking. It's a very old school way of thinking. Yeah, if you train well, the best trainers will get picked. I mean, it's Sunday League.
Can you imagine if Tevez played for us, Younes?
If
Tevez played for us, he never trained. He wouldn't even start. He wouldn't start for Chelsea.
He'd be
Prime Tevez doesn't start for Chelsea.
It'd be mental. It'd be mental. But you see, that's the thing. Especially with form, when it comes to certain players like Werner, we're talking about Werner, for example. He's not in form. But how do you manage that? Now, I've cut him some slack because I know he's playing out of position. He's playing on the wing. I want to give him a run as a centre forward. Yeah. And then we can judge him. The same way we judged Havertz. Havertz got put into his position, wasn't playing very well. We can't jeopardize the team for that. You'll drop to the bench, work your way back up. Understandable. With Werner, I want to see him as a centre forward. I don't want to base all of this on the fact that he's playing left wing, he's out of position, he's struggling. That's hitting him psychologically. He's not playing up front. And now we just got to drop him totally. Like, no. I want to see him as a centre forward first and give him that opportunity and see what he does. Because, come on, it's Timo Werner. He will score goals. I'd be shocked if somehow it just didn't work out. We've had too many of that. So, with Lampard, I feel like he needs to have an element more of judging based on who we're coming up against, what opposition are we coming up against, manage the squad correctly. And I feel like it's very, very, very old school of just, if you train well, you'll get in a team regardless, and you cannot run a top level football club that way. You have to be prepared from all angles.
No, 100%, man. It's so well said, man. We've covered a lot of stuff, right? And we've now come up to the penultimate, the ultimate question, Younes. And then this is for all the fans. Firstly, guys, thank you so much for each and every one of you guys that have joined. Smash that like button. And this is the moment that you guys all been waiting for. This right here, this question right here will sum up the whole lot. And hopefully each and every one of us can go away with something to think about, right? Younes, I've been thinking a lot about this straight after that match against Arsenal. And this isn't reactionary. I've looked at our match for the past 6 games. And it's crazy, I was one of those fools that believed that we were going to be in the title contendership this season.
Even I thought that.
Just like yourself as well. But, when I think back, the 17-match unbeaten run, and when I look at the opposition, some of the oppositions we played, were probably the only one that we really did well against was Sevilla, right? Everyone else, yes, we needed to put them away, and we did, which is what we should be doing anyway. But over the last few games against Everton, I thought the Everton loss, it was uncharacteristic. I gave the team a bit of gave them a let go that you've had a good run, so I'll let that go. But Wolves, we've lost, and now obviously Arsenal, we've looked horrible. The question that I want to ask you is, Younes, off the back of just this season, forget last season. Last season, okay, Frank did pretty good with whatever limited opportunity that he, the limited ingredients that he had. We're close to halfway in the season. Younes, do you feel Frank is tactically smart enough to win a Premier League for us down the track. I'm not talking about this season. I'm not even maybe talking about next season. Is he going to be the man that is actually going to deliver us titles tactically in this league?
I mean, based on how we've seen it so far, you have to say no.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean rule him out completely, because I think there is an element of he can learn. He is learning. We know he's inexperienced. So that you never know. He could wake up and have a big light bulb moment and start, doing things correctly. It's a possibility. You can't rule him out completely down the line. But right now, the way it stands, as I said, this is why the next two games are crucial, because we have to see change. We have to see something different. We need to see a different pattern of play. We have to see something different. If we're doing the same thing again tomorrow and the same thing again against City, it doesn't pay off, then it's at that point, I think Roman will be thinking. That's what I'm going to say. I think Roman will be thinking. And you know what happens when Roman begins to think.
Absolutely. Go on. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, in regards to that time, a lot of people will give the example of Klopp, for example. Klopp was given time, and it took him 5 years to win a league title at Liverpool. Fair enough. Yeah, I hear that. But you got to acknowledge, before he went to Liverpool, he was already an experienced manager. He was already doing bits at Dortmund.
He was
doing. He didn't just start his career and all of a sudden 5 years given at Liverpool and there you are. No, Liverpool knew what they were getting with him. They just knew. They knew. And they knew to trust that process because they could see his work at Dortmund and what he was about, and the philosophy that he was going to bring to Liverpool, and the way that what he needed in order to carry out the way he wants to play. With Chelsea, the truth is, realistically, we still don't know what Lampard wants to do.
Yeah,
we don't know. That's why we're all just starting to realize and go, hang on, all we're doing is crossing the ball into the box and hope. I mean, is that it? And that's what I asked in my review yesterday. Is that what Lampard has? We don't know. This is the truth. We actually don't know. It's not like to say, yes, it is. That's all he has. Or no, he has more in his locker.
Yeah.
We really don't know, and time will tell. But right now, the way it's going, no, he doesn't look tactically inept. And as I said, you never know if that might change. But the truth of the matter is, in the Premier League, you don't have time. You don't.
Exactly. And I want to share a quick little story before we wrap things up, right? My younger brother, he's an Arsenal fan, so he's been rubbing it into me this whole morning. And because he actually predicted that we were going to thump them, because he saw their form. He's like, man, you guys should be taking us on. You should be 3-4, right? So when it was 3-1, he didn't watch the match because it was really early in the morning. I woke up 3:30 in the morning to watch it. So he didn't wake up. He just saw the score later on and he was laughing at my face. And he was saying to me, he goes, this is what he said. He goes, Frank Lampard, and this is coming from an Arsenal fan, right? And he's been watching quite a lot of Chelsea stuff because I watch Chelsea. I've got the YouTube channel, and I talk to him about you guys, to him, and this is what Younes said, and we just bounce ideas, right? So he said to me, he goes, Frank Lampard's got a ceiling as a manager. So far, with what he's done and what he's sort of showcased, he thinks Frank has a ceiling, which is at the moment top 4. He can manage to get you to top 4. He can do that. We've seen it with the ingredients that we had last season, and possibly even this season, he could probably, get that motivational factor, G up the players a little bit, and right at the end, we sneak in and get the top 4, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like what we did last season. We can do that. He's got that in his locker. But he was saying, I don't think over a long stretch period of time of 38 games in a season in the Premier League, throw in FA Cup, throw in the other Carling Cup, whatever it's called now, then the Champions League, the Carabao Cup, whatever it is, and the Champions League, he just thinks he does not have that tactical know-how to take us to that pinnacle that we once were with him being a player. And it started to make me think that perhaps that's what it is. Perhaps we just need to appreciate the fact that, he can get us top 4. Now, if that's what our objective is, season in, season out, well, Frank Lampard's your guy. Do you know what I mean? He'll get people motivated. He's great in press conferences. and so on and so forth. But he'll never be the guy. And the reason why I started to think like this, Younes, and it's what you just said, right? And a lot of people compare, but look at Klopp. He got the time. Klopp, as you said, didn't just come as a new manager to Liverpool. He was a Dortmund manager. And here's another thing, Younes. Before Dortmund, Klopp was a manager in Mainz in German's Bundesliga, where he was doing good there as well.
Yeah.
It's not like he just started like Frank Lampard from Derby, and he's just, all of a sudden in his second season, he gets himself, a Chelsea role. So
yeah.
I don't think, and Matisse, I know we talk a lot about Matisse off air and whatnot. Matisse has mentioned this many times that this is not a good comparison to make between Frank Lampard and Klopp. This is not a good comparison. You give someone like Klopp the time. You give him because he's going to set the style. He's going to set the standard. You look at Liverpool now, Younes. It doesn't matter who's injured. It doesn't matter if Van Dijk's injured. It doesn't matter if Mane is injured. It doesn't matter if Jota comes in, just like Werner has. I know Jota's got Premier League experience. Jota comes in and he looks like Mane. And he looks like Salah.
Exactly.
Minamino comes in and he looks like Salah. I can't see the difference. They all look the same because Klopp has now created a situation where the figure doesn't matter anymore. The number on the back of your shirt, it doesn't matter. It's a system. It's a system that's happening, right? And this is where my issue is, and I want to give you the final thoughts on this and wrap it up. Do you feel that Frank can get that in this team, like with what he's shown us so far, I suppose?
With what he's shown us so far, you got to be honest and say it's definitely looking a lot more like no than yes. That's just the truth. For a while, we've been seeing this way of playing. And, we were very reliant on our fullbacks and just, playing that one way. And I think with the 17-game unbeaten run, we all probably got carried away with it and thought, this is great. We're not losing. But I think that's also part of the problem. When you look back at it and you realize what we were doing, we weren't losing. That shouldn't really be the standard, should it? Especially with the quality we have in the team. We should be trying to take that risk and try and grow and try and develop and try and, go that way. But I think we were being too cautious in the fact that maybe a 0-0 would be good. Maybe a draw, don't lose today, that's fine. And that contributed to that 17-game unbeaten run. And now we're seeing the last 3 out of 4 performances where we've lost. And it's come back to bite us, and we still have just that one way of playing. And, is there going to be anything different? I mean, that's the question. We can't really answer that until we see what happens in the next few games. So starting from tomorrow, it's going to be crucial to see something different and something change. And if we don't, there has to start being questions asked. There really does. Because is that all we have? Is that all we're going to keep doing?
Is that all it is? Is that all it is?
Because if it is, we're not winning anything. No way. Yeah. And we got Atletico to play. I mean, oh my God.
Don't give me nightmares, man. It's too early to talk about that. Like, forget Atletico. Let's just focus on Burnley, Fulham, and that kind of things. We can't even win against Southampton, man. We can't beat West Brom. Do you know what I mean? So
it's mad. So when you look at it as well, you hear what other managers are saying, and some will say it's mind games. When you look at Klopp, and even Arteta said this, but they were saying Chelsea have the best squad in the Premier League.
Yeah.
And it might be mind games. Yeah.
It is mind games. It is mind games.
But when you look at it, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. True. We on paper, we have the best squad in the league. Our depth is ridiculous.
That Arsenal B team that set up to play against us yesterday without Aubameyang, Gabriel, Luiz, Willian. Some of the experienced players didn't play. They took us to the cleaners.
Yeah, exactly. And there shouldn't be an excuse for that. There really shouldn't be an excuse for that. Players of that quality, it makes me think that other managers would kill to have our squad. When you think about it, they would kill to have our players in our squad. So it does make you think, if there's other managers who are more experienced and more certified, let's say, will they be able to really take us to the next level? Because the chances are, you'd think, and it just depends now. It just depends. Starting from tomorrow, the Man City game, as I said, those 2 games are now huge. If we bottled both, we're in a bad position. And I mean, even right now, when you think about it, yes, we had a 17-game unbeaten run, but the truth of the matter is our win percentage just this season is it's below 50%.
Yeah.
Below. And that's not good. That's not good, you know. And I understand the Premier League right now is very unpredictable. But that's just not good enough. Not at the moment. So tomorrow, City, we're going to get a lot of answers to the questions we've asked today.
No, absolutely, man. Man, thank you so much. Hope each and every one of you guys enjoyed that. I just want to go with a parting, information, or not information, more of a comment that I want to make is that, guys, to all the fans out there, number one, subscribe to Younes's channel and watch his videos. He's one guy, honestly, I kid you not, he doesn't hide. He doesn't beat around the bush. He doesn't hide. And the reason why I'm bringing this comment out, and then this is a message to the entire community and entire fan base, is that when we win, everyone is out there and they're buzzing and they're commenting and they're propagandering and whatever the else is, and they're loving the content, right? They're loving the content. The compilations are off the hook.
Yeah.
Whenever we lose, you see a lot of people running away, and they run away. They don't want to comment. They don't want to do their reviews. They don't want to do their previews. They don't want to do nothing. They don't want to comment. And they have this comment on football Twitter saying, "See you later. I'm out of here. You know, I can't handle this, da-di-da-di-da." No, you should be able to talk during our bad times constructively, and you should be able to have the same energy when we're in our good times. Yep. There's no point in only talking during good times and then hiding when it's bad times. Because then, what does that make you as a fan? Like, you're just there for the glory. You're not really there to dissect our bad times and understanding the concept. And this is exactly what Younes does, and this is exactly why I get him here and we talk about these sort of things. Because for me, Younes never hides, and that's a thing. And I hope a lot of our fans like that can take that sort of information, and that you don't need to hide. You can talk about it and be respectful about it. Talk about it in a respectful manner. So yeah, on that parting note, guys, I'll have all of Younes. I'm pretty sure each and every one of you guys already have Younes' subscription anyway, but I'm going to have all of that in the description. And hope each and every one of you guys have enjoyed that. Smash that like button if you're here for the first time. Subscribe, and hit the bell notification to keep in touch with all my content. Until next time, see ya.